A beautiful plant is like having a friend around the house. Since the pandemic hit, a beautiful plant is like having a friend around the house. Since the pandemic hit, many of us have taken up new interests and activities, houseplants being one of them. And filling your home with a bunch of new friends can be very rewarding. But these guys also need a lot of nurturing. Caring for houseplants can also be easy though. So today we're going to go over some basic strategies to keep our friends happy. I'm Nolan. I've been taking care of houseplants for about 2 years now. I did start during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I've done a ton of internet research on tips and tricks that we can utilize here today to keep our friends happy. We're just going to go over the basic strategies, which include lighting, watering, and pest maintenance. Now, different plants are going to have different light needs. For instance, this jade is a succulent, and this guy is going to want what's called direct sunlight, which means it wants to be blasted by the sun. The more sun, the happier this guy is going to be. Versus this peperomia, who likes bright indirect light. Now, Tanner Mitchell, aka @Tanner the Planner, famous from Oregon Plant Shop in Texas, says that in order for a plant to have bright indirect light, it needs to have a wide view of the sky. So if you just get down on your plant's level, if you can see the sky, your plant can too. Almost all plants are going to want some type of light. Some can tolerate what's called low light. This snake plant being one of them. This guy does like bright indirect light as well, but it can tolerate low light. So we went over the source of light, which is sunlight. There's also what's called artificial light. Our guy Frankie here doesn't necessarily get enough light, so we do utilize artificial light. And you can get these bulbs at your local nursery. They're fairly inexpensive and provide a great alternative to those that don't have accessible sunlight. If the plant's lighting needs aren't met, it can prove tricky and even lead it to death. The biggest concern would be root rot. Root rot happens when a plant takes in too much water and the water sits because it's not draining because it's not getting enough sunlight. To prevent root rot, make sure that you're watering your plant, again, different plants, different needs. Make sure you're watering your plant in accordance with its needs. One way of helping is these moisture meters. You can stick these directly into the soil like such. Just be careful you're not hitting a root. And it'll tell you whether it needs to be watered. This guy is moist and this guy's water needs to be completely dried out, so we're not going to touch him. One way I like to water is called bottom watering, which is when you take a reservoir like this and you fill it, and I'm actually using a fertilizer in my water, this guy, and you fill it a few inches up. We're going to stick our peperomia. This is a peperomia frost. We're going to stick him in there. And it's actually going to take up all the water it needs, and it'll stop when it's done. It's a really easy way of avoiding root rot. Because overwatering not only lead to root rot, but it can also lead to pests. Pests love damp soil. So if your plant is getting too much water, the pests are going to come. One way to combat this is with what's called neem oil. According to Masterclass, neem oil is a vegetable oil derived from the neem tree, and it has an active ingredient that can act as a pesticide. It smells pretty harsh, so we have a 50-50 solution of neem oil and water, and we have a little dish soap in there as well. You just spray a towel like this, and we're going to give our Monstera deliciosa back here a nice little wipe down. And this helps with preventing pests. If you research your plant's light and watering needs, you schedule accordingly and keep up on pests, conditions for keeping our friends happy are pretty probable. This was a great starting point on basic plant care. If you're interested in plants, I encourage you to just take the plunge and try. With some consistency and love, you can surround your home with plants that promote peace and calm, making it a mutually beneficial friendship.